unmute. I'm okay. I was in holidays in BC and I got evacuated twice.
Oh,
I was in the Osoyoos fires, so got evacuated on a Tuesday, and then I went 100K down the road, and then I got evacuated again 8 hours later.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, and then I spent the night in Grand Forks in the parking lot at Food for Less. Yeah,
you're kidding.
No. And then we finally found a campground just outside of Cranbrook, and then we decided to call it a day. We weren't trying to go back to Osoyoos, so we just spent 2 weeks in the Cranbrook area. So
nice. Well,
it'll be a holiday I'll never forget. I'll tell you that much.
Exciting times. Yeah, things you can share with your grandchildren.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't see any attendees yet. That'd be pretty funny if it's just us.
No, we'd have a good conversation. We'd hear more about the evacuations. Be good.
Yeah, we'll still record the session.
Yeah. My camera is off. Is that by design?
No, we can still see you.
No.
It looks like there's two Cheryl Wongs in the call.
Oh, there I am. Okay. Well, hopefully it's somebody better looking than me. That'll be good.
Caitlin, are we, there's still a little, some little text on my PowerPoint that says we're in a practice session.
I'm just trying to get the YouTube set up right now, and then in like 30 seconds, I will start the session.
Okay, sorry, I'll leave you be.
All good. All right, we should be good. You ready to start?
Yes.
I will start the webinar.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I see attendees are starting to trickle in, so we'll just wait another few moments. All right, well, we'll just get going, and as people sign in, they can join us. So thank you for signing in to our third and final information session. A few housekeeping items before we start. So this session is being live streamed and recorded, and it will be available on our elections webpage for those who wish to go back and rewatch the session at a later date, or for those who are unable to join us at this time. Throughout the session, if you have any questions, please type them into the Q&A bar, and we will be answering those questions during the Q&A portion of the session. So just a few introductions. On the call with us today is Cheryl Wong. She is the Assistant Returning Officer for the city. We also have Garnet Melnick. He is here with us from Municipal Enforcement, and he will be here to answer any questions related to election signage. We also have Tamara Dallimore on the call, who will be helping us moderating the session. And myself, I am Jacqueline Pelchetic. I am the election coordinator, and I will be taking everyone through our content today. So before we get started, I just want to quickly say the information provided in this presentation today is not legal advice, and it is being provided as a courtesy only. If candidates do require interpretation on any of this material, they should seek independent legal advice on any matters relating to running for office in the municipal election. So with that, our agenda for today, we will be covering first off election signage requirements. We'll also be chatting about what happens on election day and voting opportunities. We'll go over candidate financials and disclosure, as well as a few post-election dates. All right, so first topic, election signage. So election signage is governed under the city's land use bylaw and the traffic bylaw. Under the land use bylaw, an election sign is defined as any temporary federal, provincial, municipal, or school election sign, or any other temporary sign connected with the holding of an election conducted in accordance with federal, provincial, or municipal law. So the land use bylaw does include the following sign requirements. First, the sign must not be bigger than 1.5 square meters in area, and it must not be taller than 3 meters in sign height. Furthermore, the sign must be self-supported or wall-mounted and cannot be self-illuminated. Any signs placed along St.Albert Trail do have their own sizing requirements as well. So they must be a minimum of 1.2 meter or 2 meters by 1.22 meters. Now, the Local Authorities Act also includes some provisions about the representation of the ballot. So no campaign advertisement can depict a representation of the ballot which is marked for any specific candidate. So this means on any campaign sign, there can't be a ballot showing that it's marked for any candidate. So it's also important to note that signs cannot interfere with vehicle or pedestrian sightlines, traffic control devices, or municipal signs and devices. And they also must be a minimum of 5 meters from hydrants. Signs must also not be attached or painted onto sidewalks or trails and cannot be attached or on a vehicle or trailer. So moving into non-permitted locations, there's a few non-permitted locations for signs. So these include intersections. Signs must be 30.5 meters away from any intersection. Signs must also not be on any roadway or median. This includes Ray Given Drive, unless expressly permitted by bylaw. On the next slide, we are going to cover which roadways signs can be placed upon. And then finally, signs cannot be located on any city-owned property or city-occupied facilities. All right, so now where signs can be placed. So signs can be placed first on private properties, so such as private residences or commercial property. And signs can also be placed along the following roadways. So Boudreau Road, Campbell Road, Gervais Road, Giroux Road, Herbert Road, Le Vasseur Road, McKinney Avenue, St.Albert Trail, Sir Winston Churchill Ave, and Sturgeon Road. So just to finish up this section on signage, please note that signs can only go up after 12 noon on September 20th. So that's the nomination deadline. And signs must be removed from roadways within 48 hours after the close of voting stations or by 8 p.m. on October 20th. Now, if you do have any questions concerning election signage, please contact municipal enforcement by phone. We just have the phone number here on screen, and this is also in the candidate handbook, or you can also email them through the election office. All right, so now let's move on to a recap on our, nominations. So we did previously cover nomination information at the March 11th information session. So this is going to be more of a brief review. So concerning eligibility, a person must be eligible to vote in the election to be eligible to be a candidate. So this means they must be 18 years of age or older. They must also be a Canadian citizen. Additionally, they must reside within the city of St. Albert for at least 6 months preceding nomination day. So this means a person must have been a resident since at least March 20th of this year. A person must also not otherwise be ineligible under the Local Authorities Election Act. Ineligibility is covered under Section 22 of the Act, and candidates will want to just go and look at this section just to make sure that they are totally eligible. So candidates must also file their nomination papers by September 20th at 12 noon. The returning officer under legislation cannot accept nominations received after this deadline, so you're going to want to be sure to get those nomination forms in before then. So please note that once a person has filed their nomination papers, they can withdraw from the running at any point until September 21st at 12 noon. So that's 24 hours after the close of nominations. The papers themselves consist of 3 parts. The first part is the nomination form itself. This is where eligible voters can sign to nominate the person as a candidate for municipal council. The second part is the acceptance form. This part of the papers is an oath. It's where the candidate swears or affirms that they are eligible and that they will accept the position that they're nominated for if they are elected. The third part of the form is the candidate information form, and all of these are available on our website. So you can submit your nomination forms either in person at St. Albert Place by making an appointment or by dropping off your nomination package in the drop box located at the front of St. Albert Place. You can also mail your nomination papers in, or they can be couriered into St. Albert Place. So just know that if you are not delivering your nomination papers in person, they do need to be commissioned by a commissioner for oaths or notary public prior to sending them in the mail or placing them in the drop box. All right, so now let's move on to what happens on election day. So first I'll cover voting opportunities. For 2021, the city has expanded our advanced voting opportunities. Starting October 4th to 8th, an advanced voting location station located at St. Albert Community Hall will be open from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. daily. On that same week, the election office and service place will also be open from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. daily for the advanced vote. The following week, October 11th to 15th, there is going to be one advanced voting station at Progress Hall at the Arden Theater. That one will be open from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. daily. And one advanced polling location again at the election office will be open in the evenings from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. daily. Our election office and service place is located within the old Source for Sports location, and that's just right across from the Starbucks. So some additional voting opportunities that the city offers includes first is special ballots. So special ballots are a type of mail-in ballot, but they're only available to voters who are unable to vote at a voting station due to a couple of reasons. So the first would be if they live with a physical disability and are unable to get to a voting station. Another qualification, if they're absent from the city during voting, so if they go on holiday or they work out of town, or because they are an election worker and they cannot vote during any of the voting opportunities. So application packages for special ballots are available from our elections webpage, and they just get submitted to our office here. Institutional vote is another voting opportunity. So this is when administration takes mobile voting stations into facilities which house voters who would not otherwise be able to get to a voting station. Commonly, these include hospitals and assisted living facilities. The final list of locations, dates, times of the institutional vote is just being finalized, and it's going to be posted to the website once it's ready. And then finally, as everyone should know by now, election day is Monday, October 18th, and polls are open from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. Voters can also use the can also see where they vote by using the Where Do I Vote application located on our voters webpage. So using this application, they would just type in their address to the application and it will tell them what voting station that they vote at on election day. Another note, the city will once again be mailing out cards to each resident with information on voting opportunities, most likely occurring in late September. All right, so let's switch gears a little and talk about scrutineers and agents. So I'm going to go over the difference between a candidate's agent and their scrutineer before I move on to their presence in voting stations on election day. So first off, an agent is a person appointed by the candidate to perform duties assigned by the candidate, which is noted on the nomination form of the candidate's acceptance page. So the agent's duties are assigned to them and they're just whatever the candidate assigns. The scrutineer, on the other hand, is a position only active during voting. They are also appointed by the candidate and they're there to observe the conduct of the votes at each station or the ballot count. So at any voting location, candidates or scrutineers or their agents who are representing the candidate can observe the voting process. So during voting hours, the scrutineer would present written notice from the candidate. This notice must be signed by the candidate and it states that they're acting as a scrutineer on their behalf. A copy of this form is going to be available from the city's election webpage after nomination day. Now, if a scrutineer wishes to observe the ballot count after the close of polls, it's very important to remember the scrutineer or the agent must arrive before 8 p.m. At the polling station. Otherwise, we cannot let them in. They must also, once again, present the presiding officer with the written notice from the candidate. Another important note on this slide, so at any voting station, there can be no more than one scrutineer or agent for each candidate. Also, if the candidate is present to observe the vote, they cannot also have a scrutineer or an agent present. All right, so the next section covers candidate campaign financials and campaign disclosure. So just to do a quick review, contribution includes any money, personal property, real property, service. It also includes payments on loans and fundraising functions. Another thing to review, contributions can only be made by an eligible contributor, and they have to be an individual and they have to be an Alberta resident. Corporations cannot make contributions. So with that out of the way, a candidate can receive up to $5,000 per contributor from either in-kind or monetary contributions, and they can also self-fund to a maximum of $10,000. And this is once they have filed their nomination papers in 2021. Another thing to keep in mind, candidates must issue a receipt for every contribution in a form acceptable to the City of St.Albert. So we have included details on our website about what form this must take. Candidates can choose to raise funds from contributors to self-fund or to do a combination of both. That is totally up to the candidate. And then also just one last thing to mention on this slide, a campaign account must be opened at the time of the nomination. And this information does get included on the candidate information form, which is part of the nomination package. All right, now campaign disclosures. So campaign disclosures are compiled after the close of the election and they are due on or before March 1st, 2022. So a few things, and pretty soon we're going to go over the form together. So I'll just note a few things before we do that. So keep in mind for contributions that are over $50, a candidate must retain the contributor's name and address because this gets disclosed on the campaign disclosure. Also, expenditures are itemized in the campaign disclosures. So any receipts, invoices, you're going to want to hold on to those as well. And then it's also the candidate's responsibility to maintain or to retain campaign records for a minimum of 3 years after the election. All right, so now we're going to just go over the form together. This form is going to be posted a little bit closer to election day, just on our website. So this first part of the form here is only applicable to those who have participated in pre-campaign activities. So all of the pre-campaign contributions and expenses are just recorded in lines 1 and 2 here. So next on the form is where you record this campaign year's contributions. So line 1 is the aggregate of contributions received, which were $50 and under. So this means that if you received 3 contributions that were $50, you would record $150 in this line. So line 2 is for the aggregate of contributions which were received that were over $50. So if you received 3 contributions of $100 each, you would record $300 in this line. Again, for line 2, you would also include a list of the contributors' names and addresses, just for those who contributed over $50. All right, so now line 3 is where you would record any contributions which were returned. So for example, if you received an anonymous contribution or a contribution from someone not eligible to be a contributor, say you got a contribution from your uncle who actually lives in BC, this would get returned and you would record that the contribution was returned. So line 3 is then deducted from the amounts in the first 2 lines, and those net contributions are recorded in line 4. This probably sounds very confusing at this point, but once you're going through this form yourself, you may want to rewatch this video and follow along. All right, so now moving on to other sources. So other sources is where you would record any amounts which were self-funded, so that's line 5. Total net amounts from any fundraising events that you had if you did go the route of having fundraising events, any transfers or surpluses, transfers of surpluses or deficits from previous campaigns if you did have a previous campaign in 2017, and then any other revenue sources which were not listed above. So total revenue sources is added up for total contributions to calculate the total campaign period revenue, just at the bottom in line 10 there. So the final part of the disclosure form is where expenditures are recorded. So the candidate must record total paid and unpaid expenditures and then total them up. So it's possible that at the time that you're doing these, you might have invoices that are yet unpaid. So that's why it has unpaid as well. So remember that an itemized account of expenditures must be included in the form. So that would just be submitted alongside with the form. So then once you have your total expenditures, you're going to deduct the total expenditures from the total revenue, and then you'll determine if you have a campaign surplus or deficit, and that amount just gets recorded. Finally, you're going to want to complete the attestation of candidate at the bottom by signing the form and then submit it to the city by March 1st, 2022. All right, now we're going along at a good pace. We're almost done. So just to finish up, we have some key dates just to flag for you all, which occur immediately after the election in October. So starting October 20th, council-elect must attend council orientation. The schedule for council orientation is available from our website. So if you're on the candidates page, if you just go down to resources, there is the council orientation calendar there. So you're going to want to review that and just be sure that you are available for these dates if you are elected. The other date here is November 1st. So November 1st is the council inaugural meeting, and that's where council-elect is sworn into their offices. So you will want to also ensure that you're available for that as well. All right, and with that, we are going to go to the question period. So thank you everyone who has patiently sat through this session. We'll give everybody some time to type out any questions if they have any that they've been thinking about. I'm going to go ahead and just get into some of the questions we received ahead of the session. So one of the questions that was received ahead of the question was, do I need an accountant to help me prepare my financial statements? Now, for your campaign disclosures at after the election, you do not need an accountant to help you. The act really just says that a candidate must file their campaign disclosure. If the candidate does want to get the help of an accountant, that is totally up to the candidate. All right, now Garnet, we do have a question here about signage. So the question is, can I put signage on a vehicle that I normally drive?
No, the traffic bylaw disallows signage posted on vehicles and also trailers. So you can't go park a trailer and have signage on a trailer, whether it's a cargo trailer or a travel trailer. The traffic bylaw regulates that there's no signage. And not only for election signs, it's any signs whatsoever.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Garnet. All right. Oh, we have one other question here, a follow-up question. Are door signs not allowed? So I presume that this is signs that are just hung on doors.
From what I understand, if it's on private property, you can put it on your front yard, you can put it in your window of your house. And if you wanted to hang a sign on your front door, I guess you could do that as well.
All right, Kevin, here I see that I'm just trying to interpret your question. So is your question, are signs allowed on the doors of vehicles? Is that what you're asking? All right, so that is the question. So Garnet, are election signs permitted on the doors of vehicles?
No, the election signs are not permitted on the doors of vehicles.
Okay, perfect. Kevin, I do hope that answered your question. So I'm just going to answer another question here that we received ahead of the session. So it is actually about the special ballots. So it says, have mail-in ballots been expanded to anyone like in the federal election? So no, we are governed by the Local Authorities Election Act, and the act does restrict the use of our special ballots to those who will be absent from the city on any of the election days, who's unable to get to a polling station because they live with a physical disability, or because they are an election worker and they can't vote on any of the voting days. Just going to wait another moment longer in case we get any other questions in. It doesn't seem like we're getting any, so I'm just going to move to wrap up this session. If anybody does happen to type any really fast, we'll get to them. Thank you for the questions you have submitted. Again, if you have any other questions that pop up, please do email us, phone us, and we can follow up with you. The recording for this session is going to be available on the Elections Canada webpage as a resource. That's also where the other two information session recordings are located. And there's no other questions. So with that, I'm just going to, oh, there is actually one more question. All right, this is also about signage for you, Garnet. So it says, where is the measurement taken for the 30.5 meters from an intersection?
So to simplify it, if you were to draw a right angle and have a right angle, the intersection would be at that corner of the intersection. So right now, all of our intersections, when you go to the corner, they're rounded they're not a perfect 90-degree or 45-degree angle. So they've angled them. And if you were to draw an imaginary line out, then it would be 30.5 meters back from that point. The easiest way is to err on the side of caution and go to the apex of the corner of a grassy boulevard or the corner of the sidewalk, and it would be 30.5 meters from that point back from the intersection. And the reason being is it hinders sight lines for people that are driving motor vehicles, and it may cause a collision at that intersection.
Perfect. Thanks, Garnet. Sandy, I hope that answered your question. All right. So thank you for the questions. Yeah, as I said, the recording for this session is going to be available on our website. And with that, I will wish everybody a great afternoon. Thank you so much.